concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
It's okay, just you ask, Mr. President, if you allow me to answer. I feel painful about,
So Saudi Arabia is in town, and MBS, the Crown Prince, is meeting with Trump. And I'll promise you, this is not something you see every day. So let's have a watch together.
Does Trump blow them all away?
No, it's another league, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
And Trump doesn't give a fist pump. I grabbed that hand. I don't give a hell where that hand's been. I grabbed that hand.
I don't know. We're bragging about fist pumps and grabbing hands. That's Trump. It doesn't feel real, this stuff. I was watching this thing a little bit, and it's just like South Park is reality, I guess. This is also going on. We're passing the Epstein vote, which we've been talking about this for a long time, but it looks like it's finally going through the House at least. Let's watch a little bit.
On this vote, the yeas are 427, the nays are 1. 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
So that's 427 to 1 to release the Epstein files in the House. We'll see what happens in the Senate. I'll keep you any updates if we get anything. But honestly, the big news today, and there's a couple news, is the Saudi Arabia thing as well. And there's a couple of things going on with Saudi Arabia, but let's watch some more what they have to say, though.
I feel painful about, the families of 9/11 in America. But, we have to focus on reality. Reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden, he used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation, to destroy the American-Saudi relation. That's the purpose of 9/11. So whoever buying that means they are helping Osama bin Laden's purpose of destroying this relation. He knows that strong relation between America and Saudi Arabia, it's bad for extremism, it's bad for terrorism. And we have to approve him wrong and to build our relation, continue developing our relation. It's critical in the safety of the world. It's critical against extremism and terrorism.
So obviously these are sensitive topics, right? We're talking about 9/11, the Saudi connection to that. There's also the journalist that was killed in the USA. It was, let's say, reported that MBS ordered the killing. They're going to talk about that. And then you also have Trump's family ties and Trump profiting off relationship from Saudi Arabia and other countries. You'll see that Trump gets very upset when you ask him about these kind of things, but they're important to go over. People ask often is like, how does the Trump family get away with this stuff? Is it illegal? Short answer, yes, it is. A lot of the stuff that Trump does is illegal, but this is the crazy world that we live in, and that's why I mentioned the, South Park thing.
appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news. ABC fake news. One of the worst in the business. But I'll answer your question.
Thank you.
I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot. And anything they've done has been very good. That's what we've done. We've built a tremendous business for a long time. I've been very successful. I decided to leave that success behind and make America very successful. And I've made America more successful by far than it ever was, and that it ever could have been, no matter who was president. There would be nobody bringing in $21 trillion, that I can tell you right now. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
And so you can see how he gets really defensive when you ask him about this kind of stuff. Now, if you're curious, the particular situation, we talked about it yesterday. There's this Maldives hotel. There's all this talk of tokenization of real estate holdings. They were actually talking about this on Bloomberg, which we'll watch together here.
Annie, if you could just put everything in perspective for us, how far back does this go? What does it entail?
Sure. So most people think of the Trump Organization as a real estate company. But as we've seen in Trump's second term, crypto has played a much bigger role in the Trump family fortune. And in some ways, real estate and crypto have melded. So this Maldives example is a great example of that. They are saying that they're going to tokenize this project, sort of an untraditional way of financing a project that will bear the Trump name.
And you can see the list they have there, right? World Liberty Financial, American Bitcoin Company. So those are two different companies. The Donald Trump Millennia Trump meme coins. Those are two different coins. Then you have all those trading cards. There's so many conflicts of interest here. And then you could talk about any number of products that Trump is selling. The thing we're talking about in terms of Maldives, essentially what it is they're building this thing in the Maldives, and essentially you can buy tokenization, what they call it. So it would be a way to digitally trade ownership in these real estate holdings, right? So in this case, the Maldives resort. They're also going to mention towers and such like that. But basically, it's a way to get around regulations, and then you can money launder or bribe through any number of ways, and the money could come from anywhere. It was just recently, and it's always a lot to go over, but I just saw recently in the news, there's been concerns that I think it's World Liberty Financial, money's coming in from North Korea and Russia. And I know for people who are MAGA people, you get all upset when you bring up this stuff. And I always wonder the people who supposed MAGA people are these bots or these real people, who knows? But this is just like the financial news, like transactions that are happening. And for any president, doesn't matter which party, Democrat, Republican, whatever, this is so highly illegal and irregular. It's not something you see all the time. And so that's why we're going over it, right? Pay attention to this stuff. It is ways to get around against financial regulations that normally people don't usually try this stuff. But yeah, the Trump family, I guess, is was a real estate company, now mostly crypto.
You mentioned the Maldives example. Are there any other crypto projects that have been announced recently that should be on our radar between the Trump Organization or members of the Trump family and anyone else in the universe?
They've had many different crypto projects that have added to the Trump's $7 billion net worth. One well-known example is World Liberty Financial. Again, there's been discussion of some kind of tokenizing real estate assets, and that sort of exposes, real estate is very different from crypto in that when you build a real estate project, or even just license your name, as the Trump family does to many of these real estate projects, this can be a years-long process to build a huge development, where crypto really relies a lot on instant gratification. Very swift riches can be made, as we've seen.
And I just want to address something really quickly in case you missed it. You may or may not know that the Trump Organization, or Trump family, how you want to call these people, they just license their name out all the time to various buildings or construction projects around the world, where they may not necessarily have much to do with the actual construction or much to do with actual design or anything like that. They just license out their name. And so essentially Trump often is a big brand that he sells, and so then you use that brand to raise money or whatever. And now the transition into crypto, it's shows that for them, this is really just a money grift, this whole thing, everything that they do. And it's all about ways of, enriching themselves. And yes, it's all legal. This idea that, use the presidency to gain money. Yes, it's illegal. The Trump's argument, sometimes people ask how does this continue? Trump's argument that he'll say, well, my sons run the family business. I have nothing to do with it. That's what he claims. So that's why you do want to track this stuff. Have a listen. And that's why he gets upset when reporters ask him questions about it.
So something like tokenizing the Trump Tower Dubai was floated, and that in relation to World Liberty Financial. So that's another example of how you might appeal in some ways to retail traders or trigger happy crypto investors with that Trump name and brand.
As far as we know, is Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince and President Trump, are they going to announce any kind of crypto kind of deal or initiative at today's meeting, or is this really focused just about like big military deals, big tech deals?
So to unpack a little bit where Saudi Arabia is fitting into this crypto picture, one of the key real estate partners that the Trump organization has kind of cottoned onto in Trump's second term is the Trump organization works closely in various projects with Dar al-Arkan, an arm of this Saudi real estate developer. So that is, and this Maldives resort is an example of these Dar partnerships. So that's kind of where we're seeing the overlap.
Saudi and other Middle Eastern countries, they know that oil is not necessarily going to be the dominant energy for forever, and it's also not great to have an economy just based on one particular asset. So they've been trying to expand into other things, be it tourism and now crypto or all of the data centers and AI and these kind of stuff. And so one of the things that Saudi's interested in, then you build relationships with the USA, you get your F-35 jets, you get your chips, and then in return, you do business deals with Trump so that you can tokenize those, hotel resort things together, and Trump family gets money and you get the stuff that you want. So don't think this is like just out of the kindness of the heart Saudis over here. Of course they're in it for themselves. Listen to this stuff too, talking about the F-35s.
Sell F-35s to Saudis despite the Pentagon's concerns about this, and in particular the Saudis' concerns that some of these planes could end up in the hands of the Chinese.
Well, I think this is an area where I'm not going to get ahead of the president. He's going to negotiate whatever deal, whatever agreement he believes is in the best interest of the American people. I will say that anytime we have our best technologies and capabilities, we want to make sure we're working with trusted allies and people we know that are not going to allow that into adversary hands. And so when it comes to chips, when it comes to defense equipment, we want to make sure there are guardrails, and I trust that if the president makes that decision, there will be adequate guardrails in place.
Now, so for me personally, I don't trust Trump, but everyone has a right to their own opinion. Here's another opinion on this.
Israel is unhappy about that. It's always had the qualitative edge in military aid, but this has been a very complicated period since October 7. And I think Israel's use of some of its material has been criticized, certainly by the United States Congress. So I think there may be an appetite to do other defense deals. It means a lot of money to the U.S. Trump was very careful. Let me underscore this, because I know it's true for Israel, too. I forget the use of words, but 2 or 3 words to say that this is not our most advanced software that F-35s contain in the United States. And there is a worry, of course, that Saudi has a deal with China, but I'm sure that to get these planes, they will have to promise that they won't share the technology. And, oh, by the way, I can imagine that China is probably pretty astute in trying to reverse engineer a lot of our material, not just to Saudi Arabia.
So those kind of things, right? Security concerns are always something you have to worry about. But, the problem with Trump is his main concern is not necessarily the interest of the American people or interest of our security, is interested in putting money in his own pocket. Listen to Saudi talk about the money situation here. Let's have a listen.
Announced that we are going to increase that $600 billion to almost $1 trillion of investment, real investment and real opportunity by details in many areas. And the agreement that we are signing today in many areas in technology, in AI, in earth materials, magnet, etc., that will create a lot of investment opportunities.
So you are doing that now. You're saying to me now that the $600 billion will be $1 trillion.
Definitely, because what we are signing, it will facilitate that. And
I like that very much.
So I want to make it really clear. Don't necessarily think this money is real. It's been reported, and this is why you look at the financial and the business news, that they don't necessarily have this cash. And when you make these big claims like, oh, it's $600 billion, Trump will say before you go on camera, hey, can you tell him, make it a nice round number of $1 trillion? Oh, okay, we'll just tell him $1 trillion. And then they hope that you don't follow up with this stuff, right? These are just photo ops and basically nonsense. And they'll try to stretch it out. Oh, yeah, we'll give you $1 trillion over 20 years or whatever. And it really is that stupid. Like, no one knows what's going to happen in 20 years. And do you know? I don't know. That's a long time from now. And we're talking about these large sum of monies that they don't have now. I mean, it's all smoke and mirrors. So that's largely what the Donald Trump presidency is. It's smoke and mirrors. It's his interest is putting money in his pocket. And again, he gets angry when you ask him questions about, hey, what sort of corrupt thing are you up to today? So I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I do appreciate your time. And I'll catch you on the next video.